Members, we now come to the Advanced Technology Institute Bill. The question is that Part 1 stand part. This is debate on clauses 3.
Mr. Chairman.
Hang on, sorry. This is debate on clauses 3 to 5.
Chairman.
I call Dr. Megan Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the clauses that we're debating at this stage of the bill really cut to the heart of some of the concerns that people have around the Advanced Technology Bill. The purpose statement, clause 3 of this bill, is a very short statement that says the purpose of the Act is to establish the Advanced Technology Institute and to provide for its main objective, functions and operating principles, and provide for transitional and other matters. And it's this clause that I want to talk about, because really a lot of the anxiety that is being felt out in both the business and the science communities is about this very purpose of the ATI. The what, the when and the who of this organisation and what it can hope to achieve. Because I think what everybody out there wants to see, and let's be clear, the idea of the Advanced Technology Institute is motherhood and apple pie in many ways. Everybody wants to see it succeed. If it can work, it will be great. And this enabling legislation gives us none of the detail. And what we're hearing out there is that what people want to know is, what is it that the ATI is going to achieve? What is its philosophy and what does it see as its core purpose? You'll see as we go through the stages of this debate that Labor has put up an amendment that actually does go to what the objective of the Institute will be. And the benefit of New Zealand and operating in the benefit to New Zealand is something that Labor really encourages this House to mark out clearly to the Establishment Board, that this is how the Institute and what the Institute should be operating for. Because the role and purpose of the Institute is presently pretty much a line of question marks. That within the science communities and within industry, people are saying, well, I'm not really sure what the ATI is, I'm not really sure what it's going to achieve, and what's more, I'm not sure how it's going to achieve it. And this is something that is of great concern to Labor members, and it was certainly of great concern to Labor members who sat and listened to the submissions on Select Committee, that there just really wasn't this firm idea of the purpose of the Institute, and we want to see some more detail around that. Labor is supporting this legislation. It has to be signalled that Labor is supporting this legislation with a great deal of reservations. We are putting up some amendments that we think will strengthen the enabling legislation and will allow and give some clearer direction to the Establishment Board and the Establishment Unit of the Institute, and give far more direction there. Because what we're seeing is a paucity of discussion with industry and science leaders by the Establishment Unit. And this goes back to even what the purpose of it is. And unfortunately, the Select Committee process did not allow for us to progress that discussion and to clear up some of the understanding with the science sector and with industry, because we had a ridiculously truncated process at Select Committee. Submissions were open for only a matter of days, and submitters had to come and speak within days of putting their submission in, which for many in industry this was simply not doable. And I think it spoke volumes. The very few number of submissions we received. I think this is incredibly important legislation. It's certainly incredibly important to how Labor sees our economic future, and the fact that we had so few members of industry come along and talk about how it is that this new entity could aid them in increasing their and helping with their businesses was of great concern to us. So there are a number of questions around the very purpose of this institute. What business model should be put in place? What should it be? What should its role be? All questions that are hanging out there. How should it collaborate with the existing capability sets that exist out there, whether they be research and development? And we have a number of players in the research and development space, and we heard from a number of universities, and we heard from some of the other CRIs, and we heard from some of the other private research and development providers providers who are very unclear of what the purpose of the ATI is. We heard from other people involved in the commercialisation space. They also have no idea really what the core purpose of the ATI will be. And people involved in this area of consultancy, which is looking more and more like what the ATI is going to be from the little bits of information that we can glean from various places. But it's one of the fundamental questions that needs to be addressed with the, Mr. Chairman, one of the fundamental questions that needs to be addressed with the Advanced Technology Institute is how can it avoid cannibalising existing relationships in the science and innovation sector, whether they be at the research level, whether they be at the science level, whether they be at the consultancy level, or whether they be at the commercialisation level. And these are the very things that have to be cleared up. Because Labor has great fears that this is yet another talking big by the government and using the rhetoric of how important science is, but it's talking big but failing to deliver. We're already seeing the establishment date of 1 February being pushed out from what it originally was on 1 November. There are real concerns around whether it will be ready to go on 1 February and whether it really is feasible that we will have something set up. And in terms of its purpose, we're seeing that that has been expanded from its original conception, which was to provide research and development expertise into the high-value manufacturing sector. We've seen that expanded out into the food space, just as we saw that happen with the technology voucher system, which has been a failure for this government. It was announced with great fanfare in Budget 2010. There was going to be $20 million spent over 4 years with industry, partnering with industry in this space of high-value manufacturing. And it was going to be about the game-changing research and development. It was going to be about the big pieces of research. It was going to be grants of over $100,000. Well, they've failed. $4 million in only 2 years because industry has not seen this as something that will help their businesses. So over only $4 million in 2 years. And less than a third of those grants have been over $100,000 because they had to shift the threshold down to $30,000 because they realised that this wasn't something that was fit for industry. And what concerns us here is that industry has not had the chance to input. The purpose is unclear to industry. There's very little clarity around it, and it cuts to the heart of it. What you'll hear from us later as we go through this legislation is that we would like to see a legislative requirement for the Advanced Technology Institute to chart out its purpose through the inclusion of a statement of core purpose. A statement of core purpose being, of course, what all the CRIs produce every year and charts out the ground in which they work. All the other providers understand what the area that a particular CRI works in, and more importantly, industry understands what the area the ATI would have charted out would be. So you'll hear about amendments that we're putting up in that space. We'd like to see the members opposite on the government benches support some of these measures that we are putting up as amendments, because we think this will provide some of the clarity around the purpose. It will provide some of the clarity for science. It will provide some of the clarity for industry. That the Advanced Technology Institute, if we look at models in other countries that are working successfully, have to be a strong relationship between government, between the science sector and between industry. Unfortunately, what we're seeing in the case of New Zealand is a really heavy-handed approach from government, that when you have members of the leaders within the scientific community and leaders within the manufacturing sector coming to us as Labor members and telling us we have no idea what this Advanced Technology Institute's purpose is, what it's meant to do, then we have really grave fears. We really want to see this succeed. We think that in order for the New Zealand economy to improve, it must have science and innovation at its core. Industry must be able to access that, and we've got to be investing that in meaningful ways. And we are very fearful that this legislation and the ATI that is being established under this legislation won't deliver that, either for the New Zealand science sector or for the industries that it purports to support. So I'd like to hear from government members opposite how it is that this clarity around the purpose, the very core of what it is that it's trying to achieve, and perhaps move beyond rhetoric and get down to some brass tacks of what is the place of the Advanced Technology Institute within a sophisticated scientific landscape, and for industry that already accesses research in other places. How is it different? What is its purpose? What is its unique part within the New Zealand science ecosystem? Because we haven't been satisfied that that question has been adequately answered, and we also know that the scientific community and many of the key players within industry haven't been satisfied around what the purpose of the Institute is. We hope that that can be cleared up, because in order for the Institute to succeed, that has to be cleared up. If nobody understands what its purpose is, then there are real clouds there.
Call Nikki Kay.
Very pleased to speak on the Advanced Technology Institute Bill.